For years, the Golden State Warriors have been linked to Giannis Antetokounmpo in trade rumors, hoping the two-time MVP could one day team up with Stephen Curry to chase another championship. A new report suggests that dream may be slipping further out of reach. Hey, what's up, everyone? Before we jump into everything today, that like button right there is what decides if this video hits hundreds or thousands of people. 1 second is all it takes, but the impact on this channel is massive. Go ahead and hit that like button right now. Seriously, it's the simplest thing you can do. And honestly, the best way to back this content up, because every single like pushes us further. So hit it now. According to insider Jake Fisher of the Stein Line, the Warriors have not been part of the Milwaukee Bucks' most recent trade conversations involving Antetokounmpo, a significant development given how aggressively Golden State pursued him earlier this year. At the 2026 trade deadline, the Warriors pushed to acquire the superstar forward, but the Bucks turned down their offer. Analysts predicted that rejection would essentially close the door on Golden State's chances once free agency arrived, since other contenders could offer Milwaukee far more valuable packages. That prediction now appears to be playing out. The Bucks reportedly have multiple stronger options on the table. The Miami Heat have offered a package built around Tyler Herro, Kel'el Ware, Jamie Jaquez Jr., and additional draft compensation. Meanwhile, teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder and San Antonio Spurs could put together even bigger packages by combining assets from multiple teams in a larger trade framework, giving Milwaukee significantly more long-term value than anything Golden State could realistically offer. For Warriors fans who have spent months imagining a Curry-Antetokounmpo pairing, this is a tough pill to swallow. But there's a silver lining buried in this news. Golden State has reportedly been holding on to valuable trade assets, specifically in case an Antetokounmpo opportunity emerged. Now that this scenario appears to be closing, General Manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. and the front office can pivot their attention and resources toward other roster-building options without the shadow of a "what if Giannis becomes available" scenario hanging over every decision. There are several directions the Warriors could go instead. One name that has come up in recent weeks is Michael Porter Jr. Reports indicate Golden State previously considered offering a first-round pick for him around the trade deadline. And with the Antetokounmpo pursuit fading, the Warriors could now be willing to put even more on the table to land a forward, who would add scoring punch and floor spacing alongside Curry. Another possibility is ramping up interest in Kawhi Leonard. The two-time Finals MVP has been the subject of speculation all offseason, and if the Warriors are no longer holding back assets for a Bucks blockbuster, they may feel freer to make a serious run at Leonard, even if questions about his health and availability remain a factor in any team's evaluation. A third name that has surfaced is Trey Murphy III, a versatile wing who has drawn interest from multiple teams around the league for his shooting and athleticism. If the Warriors decide to go all in on a single big swing this summer, Murphy represents another avenue worth exploring now that the Antetokounmpo path looks all but closed. Of course, there's also a real chance the Warriors choose to stand mostly pat this offseason. That outcome would frustrate a fan base eager to see the front office surround Curry with more support heading into the final stretch of his prime. But even in that scenario, at least the decision-making process moving forward won't be clouded by the lingering hope of landing a player who may never have been realistically available. While the Antetokounmpo chapter appears to be winding down, the biggest story of the Warriors' offseason remains their pursuit of LeBron James. Despite years of speculation, most signs still point toward James staying with the Los Angeles Lakers. However, if circumstances change and James decides to explore his options, the Warriors believe they have a compelling case to make. Golden State offers several advantages that could appeal to James. The team's home arena is relatively close to his Los Angeles residence, meaning a move wouldn't acquire an entirely new home base. The roster already features star talent that James has expressed admiration for in the past. And unlike many teams operating near the salary cap, the Warriors will have the ability to offer James more than just a minimum contract, even if at a fraction of what he could earn elsewhere. In fact, some analysts have argued that landing James on a smaller deal, even something in the range of the $15 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception, would represent a bigger win for franchise than any blockbuster trade for a superstar would have been, given the draft capital and personnel costs such a trade would require. The seriousness of Golden State's pursuit was underscored by reports that Curry himself has been personally involved in recruiting efforts, reaching out and making the case for why Golden State could be the right fit for James in this stage of his career. That kind of star-to-star recruitment is rare, and it signals just how much value the Warriors place on adding a player of James's caliber, even in a complementary role. As the offseason progresses, all eyes will be on how Golden State navigates this pivotal period. With one major trade fantasy seemingly fading and a true superstar free agency chase still alive, the next few weeks could shape the franchise's direction for years to come. While the Antetokounmpo storyline dominates current headlines, it's worth looking back at another star the Warriors once tried hard to acquire, and watch him shine on this year's NBA final stage only adds to the sting of what could have been for Golden State. OG Anunoby is currently a key piece for the New York Knicks in the 2026 NBA Finals, putting together standout performances that have made him one of the most talked-about two-way players in the league. But long before he became a Knick, the Warriors had real interest in acquiring him, and came close on two separate occasions. The first opportunity came back at the 2023 trade deadline, when Anunoby was still with the Toronto Raptors. According to reporting at the time, Raptors general manager Masai Ujiri wanted a package built around forward Jonathan Kuminga, along with additional players and draft picks. The Warriors, however, were not willing to part with Kuminga, who was still developing as a young prospect at that point. Around that same period, Golden State was also actively shopping center James Wiseman, whose early development had not gone the way the franchise hoped. Wiseman was eventually moved as part of a four-team trade that brought guard Gary Payton II back to Golden State. Looking back, it's easy to see why trading away both Wiseman and Kuminga, the franchise's two most recent high draft picks, within the same stretch of days may have felt like too drastic a shift for the front office and ownership to commit to. Kuminga wasn't yet a finished product as a sophomore, but he was flashing enough potential that the organization had reasons to believe in his long-term upside. That season, Golden State snuck into the playoffs as the sixth seed, survived a tough 7-game series, and were eventually eliminated in the next round. It was a kind of season where many felt the Warriors were just one more impactful wing player away from being a true title threat, and Anunoby would have fit that need perfectly. The second missed opportunity came that same offseason. After a difficult campaign from one of their young guards, the front office decided a trade was necessary. Reports at the time indicated the Warriors attempted to put together a trade, sending that guard to Toronto in exchange for Anunoby. But both the Raptors and Anunoby himself reportedly were not interested in that arrangement. Shortly afterward, Golden State instead completed a different trade, sending that guard away in a deal that brought back veteran point guard Chris Paul. That swap marked one of general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr.'s first major moves after stepping into his new front office role. It remains unclear whether the Warriors made any further attempts to acquire Anunoby before he was eventually traded to the Knicks that December. Some reporting at the time suggested Anunoby simply did not want to play for Golden State, which may have effectively ended any realistic chance of a deal. The following season, despite a breakout year from one of their young forwards, the Warriors didn't show the kind of overall team improvement many had hoped for, eventually falling in the play-in tournament. Once again, the feeling around the team was familiar, so close to being a serious threat, yet missing that one extra two-way wing who could swing matchups in their favor. It's worth wondering what could have been had the Warriors landed Anunoby back in 2023. The trajectory of the franchise over the past few seasons might look very different. Instead, Anunoby ended up thriving elsewhere, and Golden State has spent the years since searching for that same kind of difference-making wing. This context matters now more than ever. As detailed in other reports, the Warriors appear to be moving on from another long-pursued star target this offseason, with their hopes of landing a different superstar reportedly fading. Just as they once shifted their sights after missing on Anunoby, the front office may once again find itself pivoting toward new options as the 2026 offseason unfolds. The pattern is a familiar one for Golden State. Years of being right on the cusp of contention, with the front office repeatedly searching for that one piece, a versatile wing, a secondary star, a difference maker, who could push the roster over the top. Anunoby was one such player who got away. The question now is whether ownership and management have learned from these near misses as they navigate this summer's free agency and trade landscape. with a finals appearance reminding everyone just how valuable a player like a Nunabi can be on a contending roster. Warriors fans are once again left wondering what might have been, and hoping the front office find a way to avoid repeating that pattern as they pursue their next target, whether that comes through free agency or trade before the new season begins. For now, all the Warriors can do is focus on the present, with roster decisions looming around several key contracts and the team's pursuit of marquee free agents. Golden State has plenty of opportunities ahead to finally land the kind of difference-making talent that has eluded them in years past. The front office's ability to learn from these costly near misses could define whether this era of the franchise ends with another deep playoff run or another summer of frustration. As Golden State continues chasing LeBron James in free agency, a new set of predictions from a national analyst paints a complicated picture for franchise's offseason plans. Good news on some fronts, but a likely setback on the headline pursuit. Heavy.com analyst Sean Devaney recently released his free agent big board, projecting contracts for the league's top available players this summer. For the Warriors, the predictions cover several of their most pressing roster questions, including the futures of Draymond Green and Kristaps Porzingis, along with the long-running James speculation. On the James front, Devaney predicts a four-time MVP will ultimately re-sign with the Los Angeles Lakers on a 2-year deal worth roughly $50 million, including a player option for the second season. That projection would represent a significant blow to Golden State's hopes, given that the most the Warriors could realistically offer James is the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, valued at around $15 million annually. If the Lakers are indeed willing to offer that level of guaranteed money, it becomes difficult to see why James would walk away from it for a smaller deal elsewhere, even with the appeal of teaming up with Stephen Curry. However, the news isn't all bad for Golden State. Devaney's projections suggest Draymond Green will re-sign with the Warriors on a 2-year deal worth about $38 million, while Kristaps Porzingis is projected to return on a 2-year, $35 million contract. Both outcomes would represent continuity for the Warriors' core, giving the team defensive versatility from Green and frontcourt scoring and rim protection from Porzingis heading into next season. Additionally, veteran center Al Horford is projected to exercise his $6 million player option, which would keep in the fold as well, providing the Warriors with additional frontcourt depth and locker room experience. So what does Golden State's roster look like if these predictions come true? According to Devaney's numbers, the Warriors would have 9 players under contract at a combined total of roughly $187 million. That group would include Stephen Curry at approximately $62.6 million, Jimmy Butler at around $56.8 million, Green at $19 million for the first year of his new deal, Porzingis at $17.5 million for year one, Moses Moody at $12.5 million, Horford at $6 million, Brandon Podziemski at $5.7 million, Gue Santos at $4.6 million, and Will Richard at $2.2 million. With that financial picture in place, the Warriors would still have access to the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, worth up to $15 million, as long as their total salary commitments stay below the $209 million first apron threshold for the upcoming season. Realistically, though, the Warriors likely won't be able to use the entire $15 million exception. The team's 2026 first-round pick, projected at number 11, would carry a cap charge of roughly $6.1 million. Add in minimum salary contracts needed to fill out the back of the roster, and Golden State would have considerably less than $15 million in flexibility once everything is accounted for. One likely approach would be splitting whatever portion of the mid-level exception remains between 2 complementary veteran additions. Names mentioned as potential targets in this scenario include Colin Sexton and D'Anthony Melton, both of whom could provide value at the guard position for relatively modest cap hits. Putting it all together, a hypothetical Warriors roster for next season might look something like this. Curry at $62.6 million, Butler at $56.8 million, Green at $19 million, Porzingis at $17.5 million, Moody at $12.5 million, the number 11 pick at $6.1 million, Horford at $6 million, Podziemski at $5.7 million, Sexton and Melton each at roughly $5 million, Santos at $4.6 million, Quentin Post and Gary Payton each around $2.5 million, and Richard at $2.2 million. That 14-man roster configuration would leave the Warriors with less than $1 million of breathing room below the first tax apron. Practically speaking, that would make any in-season trade extremely difficult to execute, since the Warriors would essentially need to send out more salary than they take back in any deal, a significant constraint for a front office that has shown a willingness to be active during the season. There's a path to more flexibility, though. If Green and Porzingis are each willing to sign for slightly less than projected, every additional million saved would give the front office more room to maneuver. That extra space could allow Golden State to either fully use a mid-level exception on a single higher-impact free agent, or to add an extra depth piece without pushing dangerously close to the apron. Ultimately, these projections suggest a Warriors offseason defined by continuity rather than transformation. Retaining Green and Porzingis would maintain the defensive identity and frontcourt balance that helps stabilize the roster, even as the James pursuit appears likely to end in disappointment. For a fan base hoping for a blockbuster addition, keeping the current core mostly intact while adding complementary veterans through the mid-level exception may not be the splashy outcome many were hoping for, but it would provide stability heading into a pivotal season.